Hey everyone and welcome to the KP Labs course. Now in today's lecture we are going to speak about a very interesting topic which I am sure most of you will really like it, which is called as the denial of service. So one thing that I am sure that many of you might have already heard about denial of service and how many of the big websites are going down because of the denial of service attacks. So let's understand the basics of what denial of service attacks are all about, and then we'll go ahead with our interesting practicals as well. So in a normal website operation, generally there is something called as the normal traffic. So if this is a website can handle a specific amount of traffic. So it can be 10 requests per second, or it can be 100 requests per second depending upon the server capacity. So in the normal scenario, you see the server is all happy, so it is in green where there is a normal traffic. Certain times there can be a high traffic where the server resources becomes really busy and the application or the website becomes to be quite slow. However, still the website is operational. So the above two use cases you will find to be a very genuine one. But certain times what attacker tries to do is they try to generate intentionally this malicious high traffic with a sole intention to bring the server down. So if you'll see over here in the third use case, you have a denial of service where a single attacker is generating a lot of requests in such a way that the server is completely down. Now, there is one more attack called as distributed denial of service where there are multiple parties doing a denial of service attack on the same resource. So one of the difference between a DOS and a DDoS is that in DOS there can be maybe one user who is attacking the server. However, in DDoS there will be hundreds of users across the world who are attacking the same endpoint at an instant of time, and that is why it is called as the distributed denial of service attacks. So DOS and DDoS are basically part and parcel of the servers and the network's life. Now, the reason why these attacks are so successful is because it is very easy to launch them. And along with that, when you go and inquire about DDoS protection, if you are a system administrator, you will be presented with a big bill that you might have to pay if you really need a DDoS protection. However, many of the cloud providers like AWS, they are coming with a good services like AWS Shield, which can help you protect against the distributed denial of service attack to a certain extent. So nowadays the DDoS attacks are going very big. So if you talk about 2016 itself, which is like 2 years back, you had a DDoS of 800 Gbps. You can imagine 800 GB per second worth of traffic. It can actually bring biggest of the websites down. So let me actually show you in practical labs on how exactly the DOS attack would really look like. So on the left hand side, I have my Windows machine, and if you look into the CPU utilization, it is at 3%. So I have a Core i7 and it is at 3% of utilization. Now, after I performed a denial of service attack, you will see the CPU went to 100% instantly. So from 3% to 100% within just few seconds of DOS attacks. So let's not waste time and let me show you on how exactly it would really look like. So first, I have a Windows 10 machine over here, and if you look into the CPU utilization, not much, quite empty, around 8%, 7-8% of the utilization. Now on the right hand side, I have a Kali Linux machine, and this is where from we'll be putting the DOS attacks from. So let's start. So you just notice the CPU utilization is quite low, 3% right now. Now within the Kali Linux, there is a great tool called as Loic. So Loic is one of the tools which can perform the denial of service attacks. So the first thing that you will have to put is either you need to put a URL or you need to put a IP address of the endpoint which you want to attack. So in my case, I'll put the IP address of the endpoint. So 192.168.92.30. So this is the IP address of my Windows machine. Now there can be various attack vectors that you can use depending upon the firewall and the application which is running. So for my case, I will be using UDP based attack vector, and let's start. So you can put the first thing you have to do, just lock on to the target and just press the I am charging my laser. Now you see the amount of requests which is being sent by this Loic is amazingly fast. And note that this virtual machine only has around 2 GB of RAM. So within 2 GB of RAM, look at the requests that are going. Now if I go to the Windows server now, you see the CPU utilization is actually going to a very high spike rate. So around 89%, and after a minute or two, the CPU utilization will be spiked to 100% full. And this is the power of denial of service attack. You see CPU already reaching 89%. Anyways, so when I just press stop flooding, let's count the request. I am sure I'll be able to. So unit tens, 100, 1000, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh. So around 13 lakh requests which was sent within just 1 minute from a 2 GB RAM virtual machine. So imagine what would happen if you launch this attack vector from a 16 GB RAM server. The amount of requests that will be reaching will be tremendously fast, and it can actually bring down lot of networks and lot of websites. Anyways, so coming back to our PowerPoint presentation, I hope you understood what the denial of service attack is all about. So the practical that we did right now, it was for the denial of service because there was a single entity. You also have distributed denial of service where there are multiple users who might run the Loic tool which we just ran now to a common endpoint. So that is the difference between a DOS and a DDoS. And DDoS attacks are again pretty common. It has actually brought down Twitter, brought down a lot of functionality of Facebook, PayPal, and various others. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In today's video, we will be discussing about AWS Shield. Now, AWS Shield basically helps you protect your workloads against the distributed denial of service attacks. Now, there are two tiers of AWS Shield which are available. One is the Shield Standard and second is Shield Advanced. Now, one of the very common scenario nowadays is distributed denial of service attack, and it actually brings the website down. And this is the reason why a lot of customers have been asking for a solution which can protect against the large scale DDoS attack, and AWS Shield is one of the solutions which can help against this scenario. Now speaking about the two variants of Shield, which were Shield Standard and Shield Advanced, let's understand the difference between them. Now, when it comes to the AWS Shield Standard, it basically provides a basic level of protection against the common attacks related to the transport and the network layer of the OSI stack. Now, when it comes to the higher level of protection, AWS Shield Advanced is the right choice. Now, Shield Advanced basically it protects against various sophisticated distributed denial of service attack. And one good thing about Shield is that it provides a near real-time visibility into the attack that is occurring or that might be occurring within the organization. Now, along with that, AWS Shield Advanced gives customers 24/7 access to the AWS DDoS response team, which is also referred as DRT, during the ongoing attack. So let's assume that your organization is already facing a massive attack, DDoS attack. So what you can do is you can contact the AWS DRT team, which will help you on the measures which can be taken to protect against those attacks. Now, the next important part to remember is the AWS Shield related cost and credit factor. Now, AWS Shield Advanced will cost you a base of $3,000 per organization, and it basically would require you to have a business or an enterprise support. Now, one of the interesting part about AWS Shield is that during the attack, let's assume that you have a Shield Advanced enabled and you have received a huge amount of attack, and due to which your infrastructure cost will also increase. So AWS will basically return you that money in form of credits. Now do remember, it does not offer you credit for all the AWS resources. There are certain AWS resources like Route 53, ELB, CloudFront, for which the credits will be returned to you if you have seen a surge due to DDoS attack. Now this is a screenshot of a Shield Advance and how it really looks like. If you are if you are interested, you can pay $3,000 and you can see in real time how Shield Advance would really give you. But I'm sure that we will be content with few screenshots to just see on how exactly it might look like. So these are few screenshots related to the Shield Advance. Now, before we conclude the lecture, I just wanted to show you the Shield in the console. So within the WAF Shield page of AWS, you can go to the AWS Shield, and basically on the start page, it will give you a comparison between AWS Shield Standard and AWS Shield Advanced. So these are all the comparison. If you look, this is the cost protection where it reimburses. AWS will reimburse the cost related to Route 53, CloudFront, as well as ELB, and along with that you can activate the Shield Advance, where the base price is $3,000 per month, and you have an additional data fee charges as well. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now in today's video we'll be looking into the mitigating aspects associated with the distributed denial of service attacks. So when you discuss about the mitigating DDoS, there are 4 important pointers that you need to remember. First one is that you need to be ready to scale as the traffic surges. Second is to minimize the attack surface area. Third is know what is normal and abnormal. And fourth is to create plan for attacks. So let's quickly look into each one of these in more detail. So the first important pointer is be ready to scale. So your infrastructure should be designed to scale whenever the traffic increases. So it not only will help you in business perspective, but also during the DDoS attacks. So for example, whenever a CPU load is more than 70% within an application server, you can go ahead and automatically add one more application server to meet the needs. So this can be possible with the help of ELB as well as auto scaling. So whenever, typically during DDoS attacks, you get a huge surge in traffic. So if you have auto scaling enabled with ELB, you should be able to withstand the surge at a certain level so that your website keeps on working and also serving the customers. The second important point is associated with the minimizing of the attack surface area. So always decouple your infrastructure. So for example, application as well as database should not be part of the same server. So you can separate it out to different servers altogether. Second important key here is to only include the servers that needs to be exposed within the public subnets or in the DMZ. What lot of organizations they do is they even include servers like database server in public subnet. However, that is something that might not be needed. So you need to be aware about that. So also decoupling your infrastructure with the help of SQS and also using Elastic Beanstalk is something that can help here. Third important part is to know what is normal and abnormal. So key metrics needs to be defined to understand the behavior. So for example, website is getting a huge surge in traffic in middle of the night at 3 a.m. So you should know whether this is normal or abnormal. So based on this, you can go ahead and have the incident response team ready. So there can be multiple services that can help here. So you have CloudWatch, you also have SNS, which can notify whenever a traffic is considered to be abnormal. The fourth important pointer here is to create a plan. So if you're getting a DDoS attack, what is the next step that you can perform? So the first is check whether the source IP address is the same. So typically this can be considered in a DOS attack, but typically in a distributed denial of service attack, you will have a wide variety of IP addresses over here. So again, you can verify whether the source IP addresses are same or whether a single IP address is making multiple requests. Second is you can check from which country the increased traffic is coming from. You can also look into the nature of attack. So there can be multiple attack types. So you have SYN flood. You also have the application level attacks. Next important point is that you can also check if it can be blocked at the network ACL or a security group level or even at a web application firewall level. So it is also recommended to have the AWS support, at least the business support, whenever you are dealing with this. Now, one very important part to remember is that you should know the AWS services for the DDoS attack mitigation. So you should know about some of the services that will help over here. So AWS Shield is one of the very important service. Then you have other services like CloudFront, you have Route 53, you have the web application firewall. You can also make use of elastic load balancing as well as the VPC and security groups as far as the DDoS attack mitigation is concerned.